had, how you got into education. You're an example.
I think we want to drink wine.
No. I think it's,
And we want to have those desserts. Honorable Judge, Honorable Mayor.
It's
The Honorable Judge back there.
quite an achievement, and I think you ought give us an outline. It's an example.
Well, I'm not good at talking about myself, but I did come to this country at the age of 10, like many others, like some of you or your parents, like my friend Sonzinha was, I think, 12, my wife was 12. So a lot of us came over, at that age, and there's, I'll just try to tell you 2 or 3 things, but thank you, Diniz, for that. And because my first job was milking cows. I started milking cows when I was 12 years old. And so, my dad is gone, so you can't, do anything about child labor. But I was 12 years old when I started milking cows. For Joe Lorenko, if anybody knows, he's a brother of Frank Lawrence that owned Lawrence Tractor Company. So that was our job. That was my dad worked there. And then at the age of 13, we moved. I had a different school every year. And my dad found a dairy that would pay him another $25 he'd move. And I said, Dad, it's only $25 a month. But that was a lot of money in 1968. And he said, I came to America to make money. And so that's, so if I get another $25, you already know English, you'll adapt in school. And I did. But it was tough moving schools. So I have a very great appreciation for migrant education kids, because I was a migrant ed kid. I had a different school other than 1 year, every different year since 4th grade. And then my first job outside of the dairy industry was actually working for somebody that some of you might remember, maybe me and Mrs. Hillman and a couple other people, which is Arnold Wiebe, selling cars in Visalia. And so I'll try to be brief, because I would go explain something to Mr. Wiebe. My first job, I was 18 years old, and when I started selling cars for him. And Mr. Wiebe, when I began my Portuguese radio program as well, and I had probably that's in the classroom I can be brief, and Mr. Berger can tell you that. But sometimes I was a little bit long-winded, and he would tell me. And he would say it in a nice way though, but he'd say, Portuguese Borges. But I worked with Maggie Rosa, whose wife Maggie's here. And he would say, Portuguese Borges, but he meant it nicely. He'd say, don't tell me how the clock was made. I just want to know what time it is. And so I worked for Mr. Wiebe. Yes, ma'am.
I have a person in my building at Walnut Park that is a caregiver for a woman that lived in Tulare, and she's from Portugal.
Mm.
Yeah.
We're full of them.
Yeah, we're full of them. That's true. That's true. And so then, Dennis, I went from there to, selling Crossroads furniture. I may have sold you some furniture at one time. And I always wanted to teach. Let me just tell you, when I was a sophomore in high school, at Hanford High School, I went to see my counselor, and I think it was still done when I was teaching. It was the sophomore that the kids, that was my freshman year, but then became the sophomore year when kids would go see the counselor about the career, but at that time it was the freshman year. And I recall I talked to my counselor, nice man, and he said, what do you want to be? And I said, I'd like to be a teacher. But I knew that was kind of hard because my dad wanted me to go milk cows, and it was tough for me. It was very tough. I had to get up at 3 a.m, go milk cows with him, then I had to change at 6:30, go to school. I'm giving you a sad story, but it's the truth. Come home at 3:30, go milk cows until 6:30, 7 o'clock. And, you don't feel like doing homework, but doing some homework. I had, good grades, and I loved learning. And so I knew it was tough. I told him I want to be a teacher, and he turns to me and says, but you're Portuguese. I guess we couldn't be teachers. And I said, yeah. And you've only been here a while, although your accent's pretty good. I said, yeah, I've been here 5 years. I was 50. And he said, you carry yourself really well. I congratulate you. I said, thank you. He said, since you're Portuguese, you should be a hay salesman. That was okay. I went to be a car salesman. It wasn't much of a difference, but that's, it's a different world. And this was in, 1973. So that was my life. And then I went back to school when I was at Crossroads, and I finished my degree. And then I was, going to be a social science teacher, like Mr. Lawton and Mr. Berg in the beginning, and that was, I was going to teach history because I like history, and I did and then all of a sudden I get a phone call from a lady that some of you may remember, Liuba Gallucci, and Mrs. Gallucci said, I am going to retire, and she had my son, Stephen, in her classroom. He was a freshman, and she said, and I want you to be the Portuguese teacher at Solar Evening. I wrote for Portuguese newspapers all since I was 17. I was in Portuguese radio. I was, one of my best friends was Mrs. Mello, and I did a lot of radio with her and with others, and so I developed my Portuguese. I always read. I read in Portuguese constantly, and so I said, Liuba, I still have another year to go. I haven't finished my degree yet, And she said, when do you finish? I said, May of next year. Maybe even a little bit earlier, maybe January. I'll stay on another year. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
She said, it's not a guarantee that you'll get the job.
Yeah.
I'll put in a good word for you, but I'll stay on another year. And Liuba stayed on another year so I could have the possibility to at least put my hat, my name in the hat. And my hat in a ringer. And in Portuguese we say, and that's what happened. Then I, continued teaching and got my master's, and never decided to go into administration because I loved the classroom, although I should have gone maybe.
Yeah.
But I been writing ever since I was 17, Portuguese newspapers, and published a few books, and that's just my connection. I don't know if my world would be any different now. I couldn't imagine my world without the Azores. But I couldn't live there, to be honest with you. Also, I love America. I love what we stand for, and I love this country, and I love I criticize it once in a while if I don't agree with things that are going on. But I wouldn't live in the Azores, but I love going back.
Amen.
That's kind of in a nutshell. Dennis,
Did
I give you the clock version or the time version?
I know most of the story, but I thought everybody else.
Thank you. That's nice of you. Appreciate it. Anyway, thank you all so much. No more questions because we all went to eat.